Good morning and welcome to today's meeting on the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs for the 2025 session. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Assembly members Carter,
Present.
DeLong,
Present.
De Silva, Edgeworth, Flanagan, Gallant, Golding, Gurr, Hunt, Jackson, Karras, Kasama, Wynn, Chair Considine.
And I am here. Great day, everybody's here. Welcome to the audience here in Carson City, those joining by video conference in Las Vegas, and those listening over the internet. I'd like to begin with our daily housekeeping measures. Please check and silence your electronic devices. If you wish to testify, please sign in at the table by the door and provide a business card to the committee secretary. When testifying, please turn on the microphone and clearly state your name and affiliation for the record, and turn the microphone off each time you are done speaking. If you are providing handouts, please ensure hard copies are available for members of the public, and electronic copies should have been submitted to our committee manager by 9 a.m. yesterday. We expect courtesy and respect in our interactions during the meeting, even if we disagree with someone else's position. I encourage committee members to ask questions and engage with the material presented. And as always, committee members will be using their laptops to view handouts, other documents, and please do not interpret that as a sign of disrespect or inattention. Today, we will conduct a work session to take action on measures that the committee has heard in previous meetings. After the work session, we will hear one bill, Assembly Bill 547, which revises provisions relating to public employment. And we will now open the work session. It is not customary for the committee to take testimony or rehear bills during a work session. However, I may invite a witness to come forward for clarification or questions during a work session. We will be hearing 9 bills during the work session today. They are Assembly Bills 37, 72, 128, 131, 242, 336, 342, 392, and 433. And with that, we will get started with Assembly Bill 37. And I'll turn it over to our policy analyst, Alex Drozdoff.
Thank you, Chair. Alex Drozdoff, Committee Policy Analyst for the record. As nonpartisan legislative staff, I can neither support nor oppose any measure before the committee. The first bill on work session is Assembly Bill 37, which the committee heard on March 26th. Assembly Bill 37 makes various changes relating to housing. It revises certain data to be included in the statewide low-income housing database and outlines requirements for the analysis of that data. The bill also changes certain requirements relating to income level from at or below the federally designated level signifying poverty to at or below 30% of the median monthly gross household income for the applicable county. It creates a new tier of affordable housing to represent this income level, renames and changes income percentage for the existing tiers, and outlines which percentage constitutes attainable affordable housing. Furthermore, the bill renames the position of housing advocate within the housing division to housing liaison. It also outlines provisions guiding usage of funds in the account for affordable housing and changes deadlines relating to certain annual progress reports concerning affordable housing. Christine Hess, Chief Financial Officer with the Housing Division, proposed an amendment adding certain families with children to the eligible uses for funds deposited in the account for affordable housing. The amendment also clarifies how the remaining funds in the account must be distributed. Furthermore, the amendment removes Section 4 of the bill, which concerns the newly created Tier 1 affordable housing, adds language outlining Tier 5 affordable housing, and makes certain changes related to income percentage for the housing tiers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to amend and do pass on
So
AB
moved.
37.
Second.
I have a first from Vice Chair Wynn and a second from Assembly Member Carter. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. The floor statement will be assigned to Vice Chair Wynn.
Thank you.
Ms. Drozdoff, please summarize the next bill.
Thank you, Chair. Alex Drozdoff for the record. The next bill in work session is Assembly Bill 72, which revises provisions relating to notaries public and document preparation services. The committee heard this measure on February 17th. Assembly Bill 72 outlines various provisions related to notaries public. It authorizes the Secretary of State to adopt regulations establishing a code of professional responsibility for notaries and to impose certain sanctions if the code is violated. The bill also outlines certain prohibitions and related penalties for notaries public, and it outlines limitations for electronic notaries public. Furthermore, the bill outlines requirements and prohibitions for certain registrants and business entities related to filing cash or surety bonds. Finally, the bill makes information and documents obtained by or filed with the Secretary of State in connection with an investigation confidential. There are two proposed amendments to this measure. The Nevada Land Title Association proposed an amendment to remove subsection 12 of section 3, which prohibits a notary public from performing a notarial act under certain circumstances, and instead outlines provisions concerning when a notarial officer may refuse to perform a notarial act. The amendment also adds language related to competency. Additionally, the Secretary of State proposed an amendment adding language relating to advertising or intending to perform document preparation services. The amendment also adds a tiered structure to the bond amount required of licensed document preparers and specifies the intent of the bill for businesses to hold bonds if they offer or utilize the service of licensed document preparers, even if the preparers are contractors and not employees. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? I will now entertain a motion to amend and do pass AB 72.
Second.
I have a first from Vice Chair Nguyen and a second from Assembly Member Karas. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. The floor statement will be assigned to Assembly Member Carter. Ms. Drozdoff, please summarize the next.
Thank you, Chair. Alex Drozdoff for the record. The next bill in work session is Assembly Bill 128, which creates the Office of Public Records Ombudsman in the Executive Department of State Government. Because the amendment replaces the original bill language, I'll skip the bill summary. Assemblymember Torres Fawcett proposed an amendment to replace the provisions of the bill and instead form a Public Records Task Force. The amendment outlines certain provisions of the task force, including its membership, meeting obligations, and the topics it must address. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to amend and do pass AB 128. I have the motion from Assembly Member Nguyen and a second from Assembly Member Carter. Is there any discussion on the motion? Assembly Member Gurr.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to vote yes to get it out of committee and reserve the right to change my mind.
Any other discussion? Assembly Member DeLong.
I ditto the Assemblyman's statement.
Ditto. Ditto.
Thank you. So just so that I'm clear, we have 5 members that are voting yes but reserving their right. Okay, thank you. All those in favor say yay.
Yeah.
Any opposed say nay. Okay, the motion passes unanimously, and the floor statement is assigned to Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. Ms. Drozdoff, please summarize the next bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Alex Drozdoff. The next bill on work session is Assembly Bill 131, which revises provisions relating to housing. The committee heard this measure on March 26th. Again, because the amendment replaces the original bill language, I'll skip over the bill summary. Cadence Matievich, Government Affairs Liaison for Washoe County, in coordination with Assemblymember Jackson, proposed an amendment that replaces the provisions of the bill, instead providing that an accessory dwelling unit is exempt from taxation if it meets certain criteria. The amendment also specifies requirements for a person claiming an exemption and clarifies the exemption may only be claimed for 1 ADU per parcel. Finally, it outlines provisions concerning how the taxable value of such a property will be determined, and it changes the effective date of the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? I will now entertain a motion to amend and do pass on AB 131. I have a motion moved by Vice Chair Nguyen and a second by Assemblymember De Silva. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. The floor assignment is assigned to Assemblymember Jackson. And if we can move on to the next bill on work session.
Thank you, Chair. Alex Drozdoff for the record. The next bill on work session is Assembly Bill 242, which revises provisions relating to the Sagebrush Ecosystem Council. The committee heard this measure on March 11th. Assembly Bill 242 requires the Sagebrush Ecosystem Council within the State Department of Conservation and Natural Resources to establish a program by regulation to mitigate the damage to sagebrush ecosystems through certain measures. The bill also sets forth requirements of the council concerning the program. Assemblymember DeLong proposed an amendment removing the requirements for the council currently outlined in subsection 8 of section 1. Instead, the amendment requires the council to take certain steps related to a debit and/or credit project. Additionally, the amendment changes the effective date of the bill. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? I will now entertain a motion to amend and do pass AB 242. I had a motion, the motion from Assemblymember DeLong and a second from Assemblymember Karas. Is there any discussion on the motion? Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate the amendment and the conversation this morning with the sponsor. I'm voting no because even with the amendment, I'm not completely assured that science is driving the decision, so I'm voting no with some reservation.
Any other discussion? All those in favor say of AB amend and do pass for AB 242, say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. I have a nay from Assemblymember Jackson and from Assemblymember Goulding. Motion carries. The floor statement will be assigned to Assemblymember DeLong. You want to move on to the next one, Ms. Drozdoff?
Thank you, Chair. Alex Drozdoff. The next bill on work session is Assembly Bill 336, which revises provisions relating to state purchasing. The committee heard this measure on March 13th. Assembly Bill 336 makes various changes to preference applied in state purchasing contracts. Specifically, it eliminates the prohibition against combining the preferences for a Nevada-based business and a local business owned and operated by a veteran with a service-connected disability. The change provides for a combined preference of 10% for a bid or proposal for a state purchasing contract submitted by a business that meets the requirements for both preferences. The bill also eliminates provisions relating to the inverse preference. There are no amendments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to do pass on Assembly Bill 336.
So moved.
I have a motion from Vice Chair and a second from Assemblymember Carter. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously. I will assign the floor assignment to Assemblymember Flanagan. And Ms. Drozdoff, please summarize the next bill.
Thank you, Chair. Alex Drozdoff for the record. The next bill on work session is Assembly Bill 342, which designates the month of March as Women Veterans History Month. The committee heard this measure on March 17th. Assembly Bill 342 designates the month of March of each year as Women Veterans History Month in Nevada and requires the governor to issue annually a proclamation encouraging its observance. There are no amendments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to do pass Assembly Bill 342. I have a motion from Assemblymember Hunt and a second from Assemblymember De Silva. Is there any discussion on the motion? Assemblymember DeLong.
Thank you, Chair. In general, I'm in favor of the concept. My concern is designating months rather than observance days, and so for that reason, I will be voting no.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Nay. I have a nays from Assembly Members DeLong and Edgeworth. Motion carries, and the floor statement is assigned to Assemblymember Hunt. Move on to the next bill.
Thank you, Chair. Alex Drozdoff for the record. The next bill on work session is Assembly Bill 392, which revises provisions relating to interlocal agreements and contracts with tribal governments. The committee heard this measure on March 27th. Assembly Bill 392 requires that if a tribal government wishes to enter into a joint or cooperative agreement or contract with the governing body of a county or agency for any service, activity, or undertaking, the county's governing body must engage in discussions in good faith with the tribal government. If the government body enters into such an agreement or contract with the tribal government, the agreement must be a conditional interlocal agreement that does not require the tribal government to waive sovereign immunity and authorizes the county's governing body to terminate the agreement with 90 days advance notice to the tribal government under certain circumstances. These circumstances include delinquency on financial obligations under the agreement, failure to respond to written demand, and preventing entry onto tribal land to the effect of impacting performance under the agreement, among other provisions. The bill also adds provisions to the Interlocal Cooperation Act and applies definitions from that act to this bill. Assemblymember Carter proposed an amendment authorizing, rather than requiring, the governing body of a county to engage in good faith discussions with the tribal government. The amendment also provides a definition of good faith. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to amend and do pass AB 392. I have a motion from Vice Chair Nguyen and a second I heard from Assemblymember Carter, the loudest. Is there any discussion on the motion? All of those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries unanimously. The floor statement will be assigned to Assemblymember Carter. And Mr. Osdorf, we can do the last bill on this work session.
Thank you, Chair Alex Straussdorf. The last bill on work session is Assembly Bill 433, which revises provisions relating to peace officers. The committee heard this measure on March 24th. Assembly Bill 433 creates the Blue Ribbon Task Force on Peace Officer Wellness to review existing state policies concerning personal wellness initiatives that account for mental and physical health of peace officers and other law enforcement personnel. The bill also prescribes the membership and duties of the task force. Finally, the task force must submit a written report describing its work and recommendations for transmittal to the Senate and Assembly Standing Committees on Government Affairs for the 84th legislative session. Assemblymember Torres Fawcett proposed an amendment changing the task force to the Purple Ribbon Task Force, expanding its scope to include firefighters. The amendment also requires, to the extent practicable, that the membership include a firefighter representative. Additionally, the amendment changes the member identified in subsection 2B of section 1 to include a representative of a labor organization that represents peace officers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? I will now entertain a motion to amend and to pass on AB 433. I heard the motion from Vice Chair Nguyen and a second from Assemblymember Hunt. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously, and the floor assignment will go to Assemblymember Torres Fawcett. And with that, we will close the work session. Thank you. I will now open the hearing on Assembly Bill 547, which revises provisions relating to public employment. To present this measure, we have Speaker Yeager. Please go ahead when you are ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, Vice Chair Nguyen, members of the Assembly Committee on Government Affairs. My name is Steve Yeager. I represent Assembly District 9 in Southwest Las Vegas. I'm excited to be here this morning to present Assembly Bill 547, which revises provisions relating to public employment. Before I get started, I did want to say that I appreciate this committee's enthusiasm this morning on the work session. We were not quite as enthusiastic in Ways and Means this morning. That committee is difficult at times, but I thank you all for the work that you're doing this session. You'll continue to do. So, Chair, with your permission, I'll give some background remarks on the bill, and then I'll walk through the bill and then take questions. So one of the things I take very seriously in this building is the success and prosperity of Nevada citizens, the people that we represent. As legislators, I believe it is our duty to do everything in our power to provide opportunity to the people of this state, which is a key component of Assembly Bill 547. In part, Assembly Bill 547 aims to address the often arbitrarily limiting requirement that job applicants possess a bachelor's degree to obtain employment. The requirement that applicants have a degree, particularly for jobs that did not always have such a requirement, is better known as degree inflation. And while at first glance, additional education as a prerequisite for employment might seem beneficial, in practicality, it decreases opportunities for many candidates, including those who may possess years of relevant work experience. Furthermore, such positions can be resultingly hard to fill, leading to a system that disadvantages both employees and employers. It is not surprising, then, that businesses and states are making efforts to move away from unsubstantiated degree requirements for employment. In a 2023 publication, the National Conference of State Legislatures, NCSL, pointed to companies such as IBM, Google, Apple, and more as they have removed degree requirements from certain positions in recent years. And it highlighted a growing swell among states across the nation to eliminate such requirements from most state positions. It is time for Nevada to catch up. Blanket reliance on a degree as a marker of employment qualification simply does not make sense. It unfairly limits the workforce pool in the state, and as positions remain open, it decreases Nevada's economic stability. We need to take a more common sense approach to this issue. In addition, I wanted to touch on what is undoubtedly immense uncertainty and turbulence our federal workers have experienced in the past few months. We have been watching, at least I have been watching, with great trepidation and devastation as federal workers across a variety of industries in Nevada have unexpectedly lost their jobs. This includes Veteran Affairs employees, national park workers, and folks in the General Services Administration, and sadly, many, many more. And I think it's reasonable to say that more layoffs are coming to the federal workforce. It is critical that we as a state provide an avenue for federal workers who have found themselves in such a precarious position through no fault of their own to leverage their experience and expertise as they are forced to seek new employment opportunities. In its recognition of federal government employment experience, AB 547 provides one such avenue. Ultimately, Assembly Bill 547 seeks to benefit employees, employers, and the state as a whole by implementing common sense employment practices that recognize the value of work experience and other qualifications beyond a degree. This legislation is essential in opening doors to our workforce, and given our current economic uncertainties, this need could not be more timely. Chair, with your permission, I would like to go through the bill. It's not overly complicated, but I'll take you through it anyway. Specifically, AB 547 requires that an appointing authority recognize relevant experience that an employee has obtained in the federal government as equivalent to experience obtained within the state government. This recognition should be considered to recruit, evaluate, select, manage, and promote employees, including in manners related to an employee's pay. Additionally, existing law provides that the administrator of the Division of Human Resources Management must prepare and maintain a master classification plan for all positions in the classified service to provide for reasonable parity among qualifications and pay schedules in the same class. That's existing statutory duties. This bill requires that the administrator must allow a person to substitute equivalent federal government employment experience for experience obtained in the state level when determining these reasonable qualifications. Furthermore, the bill prohibits an appointing authority, with certain exceptions, from requiring an applicant for a position in the classified or unclassified service to have obtained a bachelor's degree as a condition precedent to employment. However, if the appointing authority determines that the position requires certain knowledge, skills, or abilities that may only be obtained by pursuing and achieving a bachelor's degree, this provision does not apply. We can think of a number of jobs across our state sector. For instance, most attorney positions, you're going to need to have a JD, which means you're probably going to have a bachelor's degree as well. So there are certainly exceptions to the rule, and other positions as well where you're just going to need specialized knowledge. And then finally, AB 547 removes certain duties of the administrator relating to reviewing and revising employment requirements, necessitating that a person hold a bachelor's degree. Chair, I want to thank you for your consideration of this measure and the committee's consideration. We know that employment opportunities are critically important, both on the individual level and for Nevada's overall prosperity. This bill allows us to benefit our state and its people by implementing reasonable, workable employment practices. I urge your support, and Chair, I'm happy to answer questions, and I did want to note, much to my delight, we have Mr. Robb with us as well, who knows a lot about state hiring practices, and so if you have a question that I'm not able to answer, I'm pretty sure that Mr. Robb will probably be able to come up and help me answer those questions as well. So thank you, Chair, and I'd be open for questions.
Thank you. Committee, do we have any questions? I think it's a pretty straightforward bill. I do have one question. I think it's more clarifying. So taking an opportunity that could help Nevada and find people those positions. There are current open budgeted for positions that can be filled with this. Is that correct?
Steve Yeager, for the record, correct, Chair. And when I mentioned how difficult it's been in Ways and Means, one of the things we're having to do in that committee, unfortunately, is say no to a lot of new enhancement requests and new positions because, we know the money's it's not there. And I think we're going to get worse news probably on May 1st with the Economic Forum. But that being said, there are always positions in our state government that are open positions. We did a good job last session of increasing state worker pay and eliminating some of those vacancies, but there are still vacancies that remain. So the idea here is we're not creating new positions. We are just recognizing that for the open positions we have, let's take a look, and if a bachelor's degree is not required, let's not require one, and then let's recognize federal experience. Other states have done this on the federal level, and candidly, most have done it by executive order from the governor. The states around Washington, D.C. in particular have been very active in this regard because a lot of their folks work for the federal government. But in my view, we should do this because to the extent those folks are looking to leave the Washington, D.C. area, I would love for them to consider Nevada as a place where they could move and they could live, and we could recognize that experience. But so that's a long-winded way of saying, yes, Chair, you're right. This doesn't create new positions. It just gives us more flexibility to fill already open positions that are vacant.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Flanagan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for your presentation to our excited committee this morning. Federal level jobs, just point of clarification of how to structure, because they have their different structures in terms of their tiers, just like state jobs, county jobs. So the person who oversees this or this process will take a look at the comparison of pay, of benefits of, and will kind of align, but it won't, they'll, I'm assuming, get absorbed into whatever agency, but someone will look at the parity of things.
Steve Yeager, for the record, you're exactly right. So what we want our hiring folks here to do is look at the experience that the federal worker has and say what kind of experience would be equivalent at the state level. So maybe instead of being offered an entry-level job, there's a recognition that you've got 5 or 10 years of experience. So you come in maybe at a different position, maybe a supervisor position, that will also impact your pay most likely. And so right now there's not an explicit directive to do that in state law, but essentially that is the case. The systems aren't going to mesh perfectly because every system is different. But what we want to do is recognize that federal experience counts as well. And that might be in the federal system, but we want to recognize that in the state system to be able to get you into the appropriate job, get you the appropriate pay and appropriate supervisory level.
Thank you, Chair. May I have a quick follow-up? I'm assuming this has been done in other places. Is there information that shows that it would make us more competitive as a place for hiring people, just to put that on the record as well?
Yeah, Steve Yeager, for the record. You're right. It has been done in a lot of places. I think of Maryland, I think Pennsylvania, more East Coast states. And again, it's been done largely by executive order from governors. And I think they have shown success in filling some of those positions. I don't know. I hope it makes us more competitive. I mean, my real desire, obviously there's two parts to the bill. I think the first part about a degree really factors more into folks who already live in Nevada, right? But we do have federal workers here as well who have been laid off. I think there's some folks up at Great Basin State Park that were laid off, and the veteran services. So I think it'll help them be more competitive. But I do hope that to the extent people are looking to get out of the East Coast and come out west, that this could make a difference for folks that have federal government experience. So I think we can compete in that regard. If people are already looking to relocate, if Maryland's your home and you love it, you're going to stay there. It's not going to matter really what we do here in Nevada. But if we can pick off a couple of folks to come out here and live in our great state and work in our workforce, I think that's a positive.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing this bill forward. I love it because I think real world experiences can be much more beneficial sometimes, particularly with our higher education system, not necessarily doing what we need it to do these days. But I do have a question because we have an issue here with unemployment here in Nevada, and we've been chipping away at it, but I really think it's important that we put Nevadans first before working on trying to get people from, like, say, DC. So would you be open to maybe putting some language in to give Nevadans maybe first priority?
Steve Yeager, for the record, I am open to that. I would have to check just to make sure that there's a constitutional way to do that. I'm not sure, so open to the suggestion, but just want to look into the legalities of that and make sure it is something we can do. I just think about when we talk about hiring preferences sometimes or bidding preferences, there's some trickiness there. So something I would certainly open to, but let me look into that to make sure it's something we can actually implement and do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Our next question is from Assemblymember Goulding.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. Just a point of clarification. You mentioned in your presentation that the degree requirement would be removed for open positions. Is the intent, I think the intent in the bill is that it would permanently remove the degree requirement. It wouldn't just be for currently open positions. Is that correct?
Steve Yeager, correct. It's we're talking about open positions because those are the ones that are going to be filled, but really this is going to apply across the board. So to the extent someone leaves a position and you're trying to fill it, it now becomes an open position. That requirement would be taken off there unless you fit into the exception and there's some reason to do it. So really it applies across the board.
Thank you. And seeing no other questions from the committee, thank you for the presentation. We will move on to testimony. Testimony can be provided in person here in Carson City, via video conference in Las Vegas, or over the phone. And further instructions for providing testimony in a bill can be found on the agenda. We will begin with testimony in support here in Carson City for AB 487. Please approach the table and begin when you are ready.
Good morning, Chair Considine, members of the committee. For the record, Randy Saltero, representing the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees. I have a brief support for you. AB 547 is a great step towards working to fill state vacancies with hardworking and qualified former federal employees. We have gone far too long without direct action to alleviate the strain on state employees, and removing arbitrary degree requirements is a great first step. AFSCME would like to thank Speaker Yeager for bringing this forward and supporting state workers. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chair and members of the committee. My name is Olivia Tanager on behalf of the Sierra Club Toyabe chapter. For the record, a lot of us at the Sierra Club have been pretty taken aback and concerned about some of the federal layoffs that we've seen recently, to say the least. Some of the folks who are on the chopping block at the federal level are with our important land management agencies, the U.S. Forest Service, the National Park Service, the Bureau of Land Management, for example. These are folks who have intimate knowledge of our Nevada landscapes and ecosystems, which we know are unparalleled and unique both in their beauty and their ecology. To the extent we can keep folks in our state by bringing them into our state environmental agencies, the better our ecosystems and health of our state will be. And to the extent that we can attract new workers from other states to our great state to help protect and conserve Nevada, all the better. Thank you. We urge your support.
Thank you. Seeing no one else approach here in Carson City, is there anyone in Las Vegas wishing to provide testimony in support of AB 547? Seeing no one moving up to the table, AVH, is there anyone on the line in support for AB 547?
If you would like to testify in support of Assembly Bill 547, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
Good morning, Chair Considine and members of the Assembly Government Affairs Committee. For the record, my name is Donna West, D-O-N-N-A-W-E-S-T. I'm a resident of Assembly District 14. I want to thank Speaker Yeager for bringing forward AB 547 to support the hiring of former federal government employees and remove the requirement of a bachelor's degree for positions in our state service. I am a retired Nevada State employee. I spent the majority of my career managing the DMV field offices. A large part of my job was hiring and training employees. If I was in that role today, I would gladly welcome federal employees. These employees understand the importance and value of public service. They understand the need to balance government regulation with helping customers. Their experience should be taken as equivalent to service in our state government. Additionally, as the administrator of the DMV Field Services Division, I was often frustrated by the requirement of a bachelor's degree for some positions. Many applicants had other education and experience that were more valuable than holding a bachelor's degree. The bachelor's degree requirement often prevented the hiring or promotion of many qualified applicants. Please join Speaker Yeager by co-sponsoring this important bill and voting yes on AB 547. Thank you.
Chair, we have no additional callers in support.
Thank you. We will then move on to hearing testimony in opposition to AB 547. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to provide that testimony? Seeing no one approach, in Las Vegas, is anyone wishing to testify in opposition to Assembly Bill 547? Seeing no one approach the table, AVH, is there anyone on the line wishing to testify in opposition to AB 547?
Thank you, Chair. The public line is open and working. We have no callers in opposition of Assembly Bill 547.
Thank you. We will move on to neutral support. Is there anyone here in Carson City wishing to testify in neutral on AB 547? Seeing no movement towards the table, we'll go back to Las Vegas. Las Vegas, anyone there wishing to testify in neutral on AB 547? Seeing no movement there. AVH, is there anyone on the line in neutral for the bill?
The public line is open and working. We have no callers for neutral for AB 547.
Thank you. Would the sponsor like to make any final remarks?
Steve Yeager for the record. Thank you, Chair and committee. A couple things I wanted to mention, I neglected to mention at the beginning. When I looked at what other states were doing, they've done, some of the states have done more expansive things than this bill seeks to do, but I really tried to find something that didn't cost the state any money. For instance, there are some states that are creating entire websites for fired federal workers, but I didn't want to mandate that our state agencies have to do anything because I know the fiscal realities that we're in. So I think this is a really common sense way to do a couple of smaller things that hopefully aren't going to cost any money. I would note a couple things that I probably should have mentioned. I'm going to look into Assemblymember Gallant's suggestion in terms of giving preference to Nevada workers. This bill came out very late because I had a waiver on it. I think we got this bill on Monday. So if anyone wants to sign on as a co-sponsor, that's fine by me as well. And then I want to have a conversation with Mr. Robb and other folks just to make sure, because right now I think it just has the default effective date, which would be October 1st, I believe. And we may want to make this effective ideally upon passage and approval, but I want to make sure the state agencies have enough time to implement it. So perhaps we can make it at worst a July 1st effective date. And I want to check if we can maybe make it quicker than that, because I think the sooner we can get this enacted, the better for the state and the better for workers, both in this state and workers who might be relocating here. So Chair, I know we are 2 days from, well, I think this bill might have a waiver anyway, but anyway, I think it's important to get it moving. So I'll get those answers for the committee as quick as I can here in probably the next 24 hours or so. And just thank you for your time and consideration this morning, and I look forward to being in front of the committee again. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and I will now close the hearing on AB 547. We will now move to the last item on our agenda today, public comment. Public comment is not an opportunity to rehear testimony on a bill, and we ask that you please keep your public comment to topics within the jurisdiction of this committee. As a reminder, members of the public can provide public comment in person or telephonically and may submit public comment up to 24 hours after the meeting. Instructions for providing public comment can be found on the agenda. To provide public comment telephonically, dial 888-475-4499. When prompted to provide the meeting ID, enter 850-294-5189. and then press pound when prompted and then press pound when prompted for a participant ID. Each person will have 2 minutes to provide testimony. Please clearly state and spell your name for the record. Is there any public comment here in Carson City? Seeing none and seeing no one in Las Vegas, AVH, is there anyone on the line for public comment today?
If you would like to provide public comment, please press star 9 to take your place in the queue.
CYRUSHOJJATY. I wasn't able to testify on the last bill, but I just wanted to say in general, I do support, in all positions, I do support wanting down college degree requirements. It's opening the door for more opportunities. And, these requirements are part of the reason why the student loan debt bubble is so high. It's a serious concern, and hopefully we can address this issue in the future. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. AVH, is there anyone else on the line for public comment?
Chair, we have no additional callers for public comment at this time.
Thank you. Our next meeting will be Thursday, April 10th at 9 a.m. in room 3143. That concludes our meeting for today. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.